and gentlemen, the regular meeting of the Palm Springs International Airport Commission will come to order at 8 o'clock. Posting of the agenda. Has the agenda been posted?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the agenda was posted last Thursday.
Very good. Marjorie, could I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Lizelle.
Here.
Foster.
Here.
Callahan.
Here.
Sheehan.
Here.
Drysky. She's excused. Engelhardt.
Here.
Duncan.
Here.
Frieden. Luders.
Here.
Lovett. McLaughlin's excused. Miller.
Barely.
Sherman is excused. Sisson. Here. Spicer.
Here.
Tavel.
Here.
And Tyler.
Call me just as I was swallowing.
Thank you, Marjorie. We do have a quorum, so we can continue with our stunning business. Approval of the prior minutes from February 5th. Hear a motion?
Motion? You may.
And a second? Any comments? Minutes stand approved as published. Public comments. The next period is time for the public to comment on anything that has to do with the purview of this commission. You have 3 minutes. Yes.
Eric Atfeld, Millionaire, across the field. I just want to commend the airport last month with the cooperation of the airport. We hosted for the first time the Desert AIDS Foundation annual gala, which is quite unusual. I'm not sure if we'll be able to do it again. It's quite an undertaking, as you can imagine. I think they had close to 1,200 people attend the event. It was held in our Hope hangar. From a security standpoint, I think it went off extremely well. We handled all the traffic in and out. My compliments to Sean Flynn and the staff, but again, it's a very important civic community event. We were proud to be part of it, and I just want to thank the airport for their cooperation.
It certainly read well in the press, too. I would second that. Any other public comments? Thank you, Eric. Introductions. Do we have any introductions? Actually, I'm going to take this very second to introduce Al Smoot, who is now officially going to have 1 more year with our airport. He's worked out an arrangement with the City Council to be able to do that rather than retire this year. I think we're all very pleased about that. His knowledge and his background will help us in the eventual transition to a new airport manager. So anyway, I welcome aboard for another year. We're glad to have you.
No time off for good year.
Yeah, if that was the case, he'd be gone.
Strike that from the
That's all right. All right, business action items. Proposed budget, number 1.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, this is the proposed budget for the year 2003-2004, which commences on July 1st. We did send out a summary document to the full commission. However, we did send out the complete budget, the detailed budget, to the subcommittee, which met about 10 days ago, and went through that budget for 2.5 hours, asked questions, and reviewed it. The budget that you have before you is in such a fashion that there is enough operating revenue to pay for our operating expenses and about $900,000 worth of capital expenses, which is about where we have tried to keep our budget. We believe it's pretty conservative as far as its revenue estimates go, so we feel pretty strongly about that. There are a couple of major changes in the budget. We are proposing to add 3 additional positions, 2 maintenance positions. One as on the ground side, we do not have an irrigator, a person that takes care of irrigation systems. We have a rather large irrigation system out there that's starting to have pretty bad problems. Secondly, we're talking about a maintenance technician position that could help us with all the new technology that we're putting on this roadway, and the electronics that will be part of this roadway system will be pretty overwhelming. And then thirdly, in order to man that security inspection checkpoint that we have changed a few positions this year, and next year we would propose to add 1 more operations aide position, which is the entry-level operations position, so they can help us with covering those variety of issues related to vehicle inspections and so on. Most of those positions, all but the aide, we quite frankly had planned before but this year we're trying to move forward with those. Both of those maintenance positions will basically come on mid-year in budget once the new inspection checkpoints completed. And lastly, the air service incentive program, which we put in place this year, which we scraped together $50,000 to be able to utilize. In this next year's budget, we're proposing $100,000 be put into that account so that we can continue the program and have a few more dollars to do it with. That is a real quick and dirty overview of the budget. Perhaps, Mr. Chairman, the subcommittee would like to chime in with their comments and we can open it for discussion.
Okay, I would add a quick comment. A, that this is a budget. Some of the items in here we have no control over and will vary. The city gives us numbers, takes numbers away. PERS being an example, we have no control over what that number is. So sometimes we're stuck with numbers we don't think maybe we'd love to be stuck with, but we've got them. Robert, would you add some comments? And I'd ask everybody on the subcommittee who has a thought on it to please say something.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the subcommittee met on the 19th of February. We went through the entire proposed budget, as Mr. Smoot mentioned, item by item. I don't think there are any major surprises there. There's peaks and tweaks here and there, some security related. I think overall the biggest adjustment had to do with the change in the PERS accounting. The chairman says we have absolutely no control over. We have to take whatever the city allocates. And because of some problems in Canada, like we all did, and the loss of the stock market, they're having to make some changes there, so that reflects on our budget quite a bit. But, I was quite pleased with it. It compares favorably with the previous budget, and the subcommittee recommended endorsing it.
Mr. Chairman, maybe I could also just jump in on the PERS issue. I should have explained it a little bit more too, just so everybody knows. It is a major switch in the budget. PERS is the Public Employees Retirement System. It's the retirement system that the city belongs to. For the last 5 years, the city's retirement account with PERS has been what they call superfunded. That is, the dollars that are being generated through its stock market investments, quite frankly, were such that the city did not have to make contributions on behalf of the employees to the retirement system during that 5-year period. And during that period of time, we've all reaped the benefits of that, not just the employees, but so our budget was not charged. If you looked at last year's budget, you saw PERS, and right underneath it, you saw PERS credit, which basically wiped it out. Well, that's gone. The stock market problems that started occurring almost 3 years ago now are starting to appear through the PERS rates. And the city was notified that the superfunding will be gone at the end of this fiscal year. And that had about a $260,000 impact to our budget overall. So it was a pretty big change. If the stock market ever turns around, we might be back to that point again, but normally the PERS rates lag almost 3 years behind what's actually happening. And so we're feeling the effects of the stock market 2.5 years ago right now. And so we know that there's still a couple of years of pretty rough numbers to come. So this could even change more in future years.
Any other committee members? Come on.
I just wanted to comment to Al, and want to pass on to the staff, probably the most professional budget that I deal with, and a number of others, from the University of California, Riverside, to the advisor in the school district. There's no doubt in my mind that the staff and Al have the best understanding of line-by-line budget item. And I just, having done it over a number of years, I wanted just to give an attaboy and girl for all of you and the staff, because it's just really the most professional, very easy way to go through, and I think that reflects greatly on the program.
Thank you, Michael. Are there any commission members who have questions, or anybody else who would like to comment here?
Yeah, I was curious about the Air Service Incentive Program, $100,000. I was reviewing last month's notes of the last meeting, and it makes reference to $25K per carrier. So it was last month when we talked about that, was that already factored in 100,000, or you got 4 carriers, you're gonna give 20K to 25K, or what's the deal with that?
Well, the program that you and the council approved a few months back was that we could go up to $25,000 on a carrier for an incentive. And when the commission approved it and the council approved it a couple of months back, at that point, we were able to scrape 50 grand together in the budget. So we basically said we had the potential at a minimum of talking to 2 airlines. I mean, it doesn't mean we have to give them 25,000. And so when we went into this next coming year, we just said, you know, we need to have more dollars so we have a greater potential to answer. Do we have 4 airlines lined up to give this money to? No, we're not. We are talking to all of them right now. And we may very well have some before too long to get some of this, but no one's lined up for the money.
And it could be that we spend none or hopefully we spend it all and it works.
Yes, and it works good for us.
Worked very well until now.
Yes, it has. Any other comments? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
Gary, and seconded by Michael. All those in favor of approving the budget?
Aye.
Aye. And those who oppose, carries. FAA lease agreement for the VASI. Visual, whatever.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Surveillance. What is VASI stand for?
Visual approach slope indicators. Yes.
Chairman doesn't know that.
Well, I know what a VASI is.
Probably saw quite a few of them in your career.
I bought a few.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, before you are a recommendation to have the city council approve 2 lease agreements, which are basically a renewal of the existing lease, but they're actually new lease agreements for the VASI equipment, for the visual approach slope indicators for runways 13 right, 31 left. As you know, this navigational equipment provides glide slope information for the aircraft approaching both ends of the runway. It's been in place for numerous years. I think it was installed in the early 70s, and it's expected to expire this September. They'd like to enter into a new lease agreement that will run between October 1st, 2003 to September 30th, 2023. Their standard lease agreements are submitted for your review, and we recommend your approval.
All those who've read every line of that standard lease agreement? Or had or flawlessly either. Is there any comment? Go ahead.
We talked in the last item that this is a budget and you're putting in money for potential uses. I'm reminded that, I think it was in December, that we had 3-1 left closed when I think it was a Baron had engine problems. We had to divert a couple of flights. I just wondered if the FAA might consider putting a VASI on 3-1 right as well. I'm sure if they close that, we'd find the land and enter into another lease agreement with them. And so as long as we're thinking about the future, I just put that out on the table to see if there might be a potential for doing that. And I note that that this instrument system for 3-1 left is a little steeper than normal, which brings the aircraft in higher over the surrounding communities than it would if those surrounding communities were not so populated. So there is that aspect of having a VASI there as well. I just put that on the table for maybe the next conversation you have with the FAA about such matters.
You know, presently we have precision approach path indicators on the small runway, PAPIs. And so I don't know that.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yes, we do have those in place.
Okay. Well, I should do a little more research now.
That's right.
As soon as the city attorney has reviewed these forms, signed off on it?
Yes, it's submitted to the city attorney.
My assumption is that's the standard one that keeps coming around that we're seeing every year, same company for the tower. And it's a not a big process. All right, any other questions? If not, all those in, well, we have a motion.
I make a motion.
Then moved, seconded by Ed, who's down there. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Automatic Vehicle Identification System, AVI, Automatic Vehicle Identification System. Got it.
Mike will give that report.
Pardon me. Good morning, everyone. The automated vehicle identification system is used to manage and track the landside operation part of the airport, primarily taxi cabs, shuttle vans, hotel shuttles, large vans. It's a somewhat complicated system. It's been in place now for about a year and a half, and we've gotten through the warranty period, and now it's time to move into the maintenance phase of the agreement, which is what we've negotiated with XCI, who's the developer of it. It is a 3-year agreement. The first year is budgeted at $12,000. The second year is a little over $13,000, and the final year of the agreement is just a little over $14,000. It's primarily just software support. Luckily, they're able to fix a lot of things over modem via telephone into the computer system. However, there is a provision in here for on-site service if it's required. And we also have a provision in here that should we have a need to expand the system, we have a labor rate that we can hold the contractor to in the document. We don't anticipate any expansion of this system with the roadway project, but you never know how things change. And that's a brief synopsis. I'll be happy to answer any specific questions that you have.
Is there a specific life to this system? Or does it have a time in which you end up without needing anything because it's dead and you have to buy a new one, or can it go on and on?
Well, with proper maintenance, it should last, 10 to 15 years or more. The other system we have on the airport that's at least as complicated, this is the access control, and it's been in place for coming on 13 years now. So, no, I don't.
Yes, it was $350,000.
We have a motion to approve. Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Mike, just real quick, is it working okay?
Yes, it is. It's gone through the stabilization time period after.
I remember there were some question marks. So that's good now. Airport security guard services selection/award. Smooth.
Yes, Michael needs his report before he does. I need to tell you it's already approved by the city council. It's not because we're trying to do an end run on you. By the time we had put this thing together to ship to you, we had discovered that we were going to need to shift the employee lot as part of this change order that we're doing with Maddich right now. And in order to shift the employee lot and be able to use that for the access point for our access under the AOA for cargo and so forth, we had to have the guard service in place to do it. So we asked the council to approve it at their last meeting. It's done. This is a report to you to let you know we've hired Olin Security Services to man that gate for us during the entire term of the construction period. It's being paid for out of the grant, and when they're done, they'll be gone.
All those in favor supporting the city council on this? All right, thank you.
I'd like to oppose it.
Oh, okay.
6 months ago, we said we weren't gonna keep doing this.
Save your
Don't take
speech
that
for the next
back.
one.
I beg pardon?
Save your speech for the next one, that's approved.
Let me talk when I want to talk.
This is the temporary problem of putting somebody out there temporarily while they do this reconstruction. We're gonna have to have a real cadre of people out there eventually. Because that's like the border guard, that's what we have. I'm not sure how we're gonna do that, but.
Why don't we just mail out votes in?
All right, well, it's a concept. Number 5, Frank Sinatra Celebrity Golf Tournament request. Mr. Barry, is that yours?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, before you is a request from the Frank Sinatra Celebrity Golf Tournament to waive the special events fees for the event that took place on February 6th to the 9th. As you may recall, we've had similar requests in the past with the Variety Club of the Deserts Charity Museum, and before you, we're asking for your direction on whether or not we should waive these tournament fees. And I believe the total amount is $200.
And the fee is for?
The fee is for the permit for the special events desk and during that time.
And we have waived it for other organizations, is that correct?
The last
Sporadically,
particular
or
item
do we have
that,
a policy, or?
that you looked at, you did waive it.
We are going to put something we're in the process of getting the city to amend the fee schedule for us, and we're going to put some language in that fee schedule which has some criteria which will allow this to be done rather than the way we're having to do it right now, so that there is some actual criteria in it.
It'd be nice if everybody matched the criteria, because that
Yeah.
way, you know, is it charity, is it whatever, and whatever the criteria is, then we have something needs to.
Primarily, it's charity.
Yeah, but, you know, sometimes it was $600-800, and sometimes it's $50, so.
Yes.
The last fee you waived was approximately $430, and this one is $200 for the vehicle permit.
Motion,
I'll make that motion.
and second,
Second.
discussion.
But here again, this is one of these after the fact things, since this tournament's come and gone.
Well, I think they're requesting the money back, is that what they are, or not to pay it?
They're actually requesting that we waive it. I mean, it's actually your decision. If you don't want to waive it, we require them to pay.
Yeah, we waived it in the past,
You've waived it for other events similar in the past.
but not for Frank Sinatra.
This is the first time they've made the request.
They found out we were soft-touched.
Call for the question.
I think we can afford to.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those who oppose? Bill carries.
What's the hell in my city?
Ah, I didn't think about it.
I would have voted sure, yes.
Revised direction with the S&H&E contract.
Yes, which is important.
Richard?
First of all, my apologies to some of you who are watching me yawn in the back of the room. I didn't get in until 11 o'clock last night, so.
Was it business or fun?
The report here before you does not require council approval, but I did want to bring it to the commission's attention that having the leakage study done is very critical to having updated data. It was not originally included in the current SH&E contract, not really as an oversight, it just wasn't seen as necessary at that point in time. We were trying to put that contract together. Now that we've gotten that together, we do have that $20,000 that was in the contract that was slated for marketing. I know the marketing subcommittee is well aware of the marketing program that we're about to launch for the airport summer service. That was originally in the contract slated for $20,000 under the SH&E in case we needed their assistance or help in the marketing. We don't need that. So it allows us to shift this towards the leakage. The leakage analysis, of course, allows us to right-size the market, adjust all of our O&D top markets for that leakage that's happening. So for example, instead of just having a
O&D?
origin and destination, for having just the data that we have in-house as to what goes on, we're at about 1.1 million passengers that cycle through. We know when we're adjusted for leakage, the last time around we were at 1.6. That's largely because of the effects of 9/11. It downgraded a lot of the leakage study. But when you right-size the market again, which we will believe will happen, it'll be more 1.9 million where it was the first time we did it. So it's really critical to have it updated, as I pointed out in the report that's before you. With the change in mix of aircraft in destinations that we now have service in fleet mix, we need to do it again to get a correct picture of where we are with it so that we better understand our market before we go talking to the carriers about it.
So your request is to take the money out of the SH&E account, move it over and use it to do the study?
The study will be performed by SH&E again.
Okay.
It's just a shift in how the funding was done. When Al and I brought the last contract before the commission and before the city council for their approval, we were very straightforward with both bodies that we would not change things in the contract without notifying somebody. This is our effort to make sure that the commission is notified that we are changing a component piece in the contract, but not changing the dollar figure of the contract.
Okay, are there any discussion on that? Bert?
Well, it just makes common sense when you say, let's do our research first before we throw money into marketing. And this relates to research, and it looks like a substantial gap here in the leakage
considerations we needed to pin that down.
Any other comments, Robert?
I'd like a quick definition of a leakage study, just to put this in perspective.
The leakage study looks at both outbound and inbound market. So you've got the inbound bodies that are coming in. In order to identify those, we have to do survey work throughout the valley in order to capture what airport they came through, how they got here into this valley. The last 2 times we've done that, we've been able to utilize the group meeting hotels around the valley as well as some of the smaller boutique hotels. That data was getting less and less reliable because the participation level was declining. Some of the GMs in town had an issue with having their patrons deal with the survey. I had seen that that was developing. I started working with the CVA and Gary Sherwin and Mike Fife over the survey that they're doing right now, valley-wide. They collect some of the exact same question information that we need. I went over that with them. I asked that we be allowed to utilize the CVA surveys for purposes of our inbound market study, which does save us some money in this overall spectrum. It also gives us a good look. They're doing the stuff, some of it's done here, which obviously wouldn't be any that viable for us because the airport they chose to fly into is Palm Springs. But they also do it at the Tram. They do it at some of the golf tournaments. They're doing it at the Pacific Life Open. So they're getting a very good cross-section across the valley for travelers coming into the valley, which will give us that look at the inbound. What that does for the leakage study is it tells us a percentage of passenger that's traveling to Ontario or LAX or San Diego, etc., for the choice of airport that they flew to versus Palm Springs. Once you do that, you've got a leakage piece for the inbound. The outbound part that we do was done previously by the reservation agents in town and a travel agent study and everything else. There's been a huge shift in the last 2 years away from travel agencies and more towards airline websites to purchase tickets. In order to get that data, the airlines own it. You have to have access to the Sabre system, the Apollo system, all those CRS systems that allow for tickets to be purchased. One of the ways to do that is recommended, SH&E was asked to look into this, as well as other consultant firms are trying to figure out the same thing as to how they're going to get that data, is Shepherd Systems, because Shepherd Systems has a priority right to purchase that data. They can get a hold of it. What SH&E is going to do for us is ask for the records that we want specific to our market, and then they will perform all the analysis to break down that data. It's raw data that's got from Shepherd Systems. So it'll give us a good look then, inbound, outbound. What that does then is identifies passengers who live here, who choose to fly out of LAX or Ontario. It also gives us that look on the inbound passenger coming in. So then our true numbers, which we all know what we do in planements and deplanements, get adjusted for that leakage. Because if we were to capture those passengers and actually cause them to travel here, that's how we get to the 1.6 and 1.9 million.
Thank you.
John?
As a member of the marketing subcommittee, I recommend approval of the revised SH&E contract.
I'd second that.
Okay. This action probably doesn't need a motion, but let's pretend it does. All those in favor?
Aye.
And those who oppose? Okay, updates. Sphere of influence. That and sounds like
I'll let Barry talk on this.
Thanks,
All right.
thanks, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Luters, who is also our chairman of our Airport Noise Subcommittee, made us aware of an assembly bill that had been proposed by State Senator Joe Simitian in regards to disclosure of airport influence areas. And I wanted to bring an update to the commission, and I'd already talked to Gary about this. But just a little background to that. The bill rose from conflicts between the needs of expanding airports and housing built within the vicinity of such airports. While the impact of noise, smell, and vibration is relatively obvious in the neighborhood of major airports, they are not so clear near smaller airports, which are used by private planes. Although buyers of existing homes may not be aware of the presence of the airports, many may be aware of the presence of the airports, many may not realize the full impact of their proximity until after the property has been purchased and occupied. As a result, conflicts, including legal action, have arisen between homeowners, pilots, and airports themselves. The legislation required a statutory notice be given to prospective purchasers of a home within an airport influence area. An airport influence area, also known as an airport referral area, is defined as the area in which current or future airport-related noise, overflight, safety, or airspace protection factors may significantly affect land uses or necessitate, hard to say that, restrictions on those uses as determined by an airport land use commission. With all that said, I did a little research and we contacted the Riverside Land Use Commission, who actually defines what an airport land use or airport influence area is. And they had actually done that way back in 1974. And so I had to do a little digging through the files over in the planning department for the transportation element of the Palm Springs General Plan, dated September of 1974, and went and I found the minutes from that particular meeting where the commission actually defines what the airport influence area was, and I'll just read that. That the commission defined that the final boundaries of the Palm Springs Municipal Airport influenced area be based upon the 65 dB CNEL contour predicted by Ultra Systems Inc. for the 1985 Noise Compatibility Study and FAR Part 77 imaginary surfaces up to 149 feet above the elevation of the airport. So if you went through this plan, you're able to locate that particular document, and if you look at the contours, they're almost identical to the existing contours that we have for our residential sound insulation program. So basically we are in compliance. Everyone within that area has been fully disclosed that they're within an airport influence area. Additionally, they all sign navigation easements and non-suit covenants. So that's the update, and if you have any specific questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
Good, I'm glad we're reasonably compliant.
That was
really smart.
Did I understand this is a proposed bill?
No, this is actually a law now.
So what
Yes.
were you quoting from, reading from?
This was basically a briefing on the Assembly Bill 2776, which has now been signed into law.
It has, okay.
Yes.
And so, even though we are, looks like we are in compliance because of our, is it the requirement or the responsibility of the Planning Commission, for example, or the department to so notify homeowners that they come in with a proposal or a land developer comes in? Because here's the overlay, by the way. So that's how that's disclosed, that bill is implemented?
That's correct.
Is that the mechanism for it?
Yes.
We don't, as an airport, we don't have to publish anything.
No.
That's handled through the land planning.
Riverside County Land Use Commission. And it's been
And
adopted.
by extension, the city, I imagine.
That's correct. It's adopted in both the general plan of the city, which would require that disclosure from the agents representing those properties. And again, there's probably not going to be any real new development within that contour. So everyone is practically aware of that they're within that. If they don't know by now that they're an airport influence area.
Well, yeah, well, we get homeowners coming in here, or.
Yes, but the boundary exists already, and within that boundary, which is almost identical to the residential sound insulation program boundary, all of those homeowners are fully aware that they are within an airport influence area.
If our latest study showed a substantial change in the boundaries, would that be so communicated to the land use process?
Yes.
And that footprint would change, that they would disclose?
That footprint changes in terms of the noise contour. It'll be up to the Riverside Land Use Commission to change the airport influence area.
But do they look to us for that kind of input?
They're part of the process because they're on the master plan committee.
So we would initiate, and if there was a change, would we initiate a process where they would review that? I'm just trying to get what our.
They will be a part of the final approval process during the environmental.
My question is, who starts the ball rolling? Should there be? What if our study came in substantial, the contours, say, went outside of the existing boundary disclosure area? Would it be our responsibility or initiative to so advise Riverside?
We will so advise them, that's correct.
That's my question.
Yes.
And most likely they will shrink, so.
Yes.
Yeah. Any other comments
I
on that?
just want to add to this that when I came across that bill, the law, I felt like it would be, we could use that to our advantage because of, as you mentioned, homeowners from some association somewhere would come to us, and now it's the law that it is disclosed and, everything's on the table, we can use that. Plus, it also applies, by the way, to either Dunes Airport, they got to do their own little thing down there where Thermal Airport. Every airport in the state, small airport even, has to have some kind of a study now so that people who live in that area are well aware of it.
I think the city planning commission has a document that give anybody within the area when they go to do anything, like a remodel, or purchase a piece of land.
Terrible, I'll personally notify that one family.
If they're home.
If they're home. All right, the next item is the phase 4, the residential housing program.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Just to back up a little, I did want to mention that we have completed Phase 3, RSIP, a residential sound installation program of 114 homes at approximately $2.2 million. We did have our final closeout meeting with the homeowners, and actually none of them showed up, which meant, as you've been there before, and Commissioner Lueders was there as our representative of the commission, we did get a few comments mailed into us, and everyone seemed to be very pleased with the whole process. And since no one showed up, we assumed that they were all happy. We also had our kickoff meeting the same night with the homeowners that are going to be in Phase 4. We've got approximately 62 people signed up for that, and we're already in the process of the design.
How many does that leave that are untouched, unresponsive, anything?
That leaves approximately 18. And we know that we're not going to get some of those, but we're still actively pursuing them. We've sent numerous certified mailings. We've been out in the field numerous times at various different times of the day. And we'll continue to try to get everyone 100% involved, but once we get to a certain point, we'll disclose to them that if you're not going to be involved, then this is your last opportunity.
What do you think, just a second, what do you think the reason that 18 people didn't get involved? Is there a specific reason, do you think?
A lot of them are transients that don't necessarily own the home. We have been in touch with the homeowners as well, but if they're renting the home, they're not that concerned about it. Some people just don't want you in their homes. Yeah. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
In moving on to Phase 4, is our cost considerably higher than it was for Phase 3 per unit?
There has been a slight increase, but it actually depends on the architectural assessment of the home to see exactly what's needed in terms of encapsulating the home to reduce the noise by 5 dB.
And in Phase 3, what was the average cost per unit?
The average cost was roughly $30,000 per unit.
And that could vary, Dan. It depends on
right.
how much glass there is, how much.
So it's a real benefit. I mean, they're getting new doors, new windows, many times new air conditioning systems, in some cases new roofs, and it's really
glass. I mean, it's quite a project.
Right.
I've got a little unit out in Indian Wells.
It's at the end of the runway.
Airport influence area.
Check with Thermal. Bill will take care of that for you, I'm sure.
Mayor, what happens, I'm one of the 18 and I sell my house, or I'm one of the 18, I buy one of the 18 homes in the future.
If
And
you
they come
are
back and,
If you have submitted your application to be part of the program, you're carried over for the next phase. And right now,
What happens if the house doesn't get done in 5 years from now?
Right.
that's my question. Unfortunately,
there's no fund that you're setting aside.
no, and that's why we're really trying to make contact with every single homeowner. However, that's above and beyond. Most airports don't go to that extreme.
Is this a grant program? Is that a
That's correct.
Almost all of it. We got a few bucks in kick.
Let me ask you, if the airport could put a notice of non-responsibility filed with the county recorder's office, that would carry over to these unimproved units forever. Is that a thought, that you give this at all?
Yes, I mean, we actually have a form where they will sign that will be recorded that indicates that they do not want to be a part of the program. It's those people that we can't get to sign anything when it becomes
Well,
an
those are
issue.
the ones you're addressing, really.
Right.
I guess we
And
just-
so all we can do is document the
That
trail
we
that
tried
we've
really hard,
attempted
that was
numerous
it.
times, and that they have chosen not to respond.
Yes, attending that meeting, the Phase 4 meeting, I got the feeling from the homeowners that did attend, they were all in favor of it. And in fact, they felt like the property value was going to increase. And those who have not participated, their property value will certainly decrease. That would probably be a disclosure statement in a real estate act. But I also want to commend the project team that was there. That included Carla Kell-Smith, Jack Freetag, he was the acoustical engineer, and architect Harry Wick. Very good staff, and these folks are bending over backwards to take care of these people down there.
Yeah, they do a lot of work, and it's been a very successful partnership with them.
I also appreciate them, the mailer they sent.
Yeah, at least, you know, it's got data there, and you can tune into it. Any other comments on phase 3/phase 4? Airport, other airport security considerations.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I'll give you a quick rundown on a bunch of stuff we have going on. The ready return lot is about complete. We've got a couple of more pieces of equipment that are arriving this weekend that will be installed out there. But it seems to be working rather well. The rent-a-cars have figured out how to use it. We've got some additional signage that we put up which helps people find their way into it. So I think that part's going well.
Is the pop-up thing here yet?
No, it's coming. One of the other things we're doing right now is we're in the midst of tearing up the employee parking lot. We're shifting everybody over in the next couple of days to where they are completely in a different location so we can tear that out. You go out on the Mid-Valley Parkway, you'll notice that there's some barricading and detouring out there. That's to make it safe for people to turn into this temporary lot. That will remain like that until about April 15th, at which time we will close the roadway completely, and then there won't be any confusion at that point anyway.
Confusion, no, higher, yes.
There will be lots of publicity before we actually make that closure to let people know the why and the wherefores of it so they understand it. The Inspection Plaza project is out to bid, has been now for a week. Bid on the 21st. We're hoping, in order to keep schedule, that we will be able to get the thing awarded by council on the 26th at an adjourned meeting. Otherwise, we're going to start to have real problems at the far end of it and getting the thing done before Thanksgiving. And so we're pushing. We have an estimate of about $6.5 million, which is a little bit more than we've got in the budget right now, but we'll worry about that when the bids come in.
What is your sense from the bidders? Are you hearing anything back at all? Are they feeling
Too early in the process.
Okay.
And we have a pre-bid meeting next week with them. We'll start to get a sense of where things are.
Okay.
It's a pretty big project though, so there is interest out there. Hopefully we'll get some good bids out. And then we're working on a whole bunch of stuff with Tom's folks as far as continuing to sophisticate the systems down there as far as getting the passengers through quicker. We are looking at a longer-term solution for the explosive detection systems to try to come up with a rudimentary inline system to where it all takes place behind the ticket counters. And that's something that we're working jointly together to try to make happen. With any kind of luck, we'll be able to perform some miracles this summer and have that in place next year. So that when it gets the busy time of the year again, the lobby won't be as crowded as it has been this year. So we can work through that. Beyond that, I think you know we went to orange and back down to yellow since we last met. We did implement the inspection facility that's out on the roadway out there. We didn't bother to take it down because we have a sneaking suspicion that in the next 10 days we may be back at that level or higher. And so it's still out there and we'll be prepared to use it and do do whatever other measures are necessary.
And we parked the green mobile out there, hoping the terrorists would blow it up.
We'd have something to pull in front of a fast-moving vehicle if we needed to.
Tom wanted to add just something. Go ahead, Tom.
Yes, sir, Commissioner. I would like to commend the airport on the speed and effectiveness with which they dispatched and deployed resources to include the director especially for the car inspection facility that was established. We were way ahead of most other airports, and I think the effectiveness of the inspection was notable, and so thanks are out and recognition for the job well done on that.
Thank you for pointing that out. I was pleased to see our staff people out there really doing a good job and being friendly, and people were taking it just fine. I stood there for a while and watched, and I was very pleased.
Observation I would think of this event, and another will probably get people a little more cooperative and what could happen here too.
Yes, Larry?
Just a quick comment. I went to the airport museum gala a couple of weeks or so ago, and now that I'm wearing this commission hat, I take the opportunity to talk to people that come through this airport. And there were two couples at our table that had traveled from Seattle, I think, and one from San Francisco down here to attend that. And so I really questioned fairly closely. How was the experience? Was your baggage here? Did it ride with you? Of course, they hadn't left the airport yet, but in arriving, going through security, they gave us high marks. And I didn't reveal why I was asking, or they weren't planning to just placate me. So I think that was an objective assessment. So I wanted to share that with you.
Thank you.
Any other comments, Al, anything you want to bring up, Al?
I don't believe so.
Okay, then let's go to commission, or as starters technically first. And commission requests.
I've got a request in regards to security issues. Limo parking on the access road as you come in. That to me appears to be, somebody was a bad guy, they could do all kinds of things to block that access. And all the others, I use limos at the other airports I go to, they're always in the parking lot, you've got to clear through the parking lot, so we're missing some revenue, but besides that, having them wind up along that access road as we come off top of it into the main road, somebody is not, I don't know, maybe look at it or whatever.
Okay, well, they're out there as a result of increased security measures, so we get them. Anybody who wants to leave their vehicle have to be parked away from the roadway, and that's why they are out there. As far as putting them in the parking lot, most of those we probably don't want to get in there because they're so darn hard to maneuver around. But we'll take a look at it.
Any other added starters, John?
Mr. Chairman, I made the city I represent, keep the city aware that there's going to be some major changes in the flow around the airport and so forth, but only in general. And they're asking for a briefing on exactly what it's going to be like. Are we firm up on this now? Is there a diagram and a short briefing that could be prepared for the members to go back and brief their various cities?
Yes, I think what we're trying to do right now is we've been pushing the designers like crazy to get this thing done, so we haven't asked them to do what we asked them to do a couple days ago, which is to put together a diagram, which we will be able to provide to each of you. We can get copies for you of it so that you can distribute it to your various city councils or boards or whatever you want to do with it, which will be a before and after shot of the roadway as far as how it's going to function. And it's a pretty good diagram to show it. I mean, the plans that we have right now are so complicated you can't read them hardly. So we're getting them uncomplicated so that they're rather easy to understand. And we will have that before too long, and as soon as we get it, we will distribute it to the commissioners so they can use it.
And probably to the press.
Oh,
they may or may not run it.
But we're working on that already.
Great. Very good. Other added commission requests? I would bring up one just thing. The two Dale Chihulis are very close to being put up. I don't know if they've scheduled a time, and I asked them to discuss with you how we would do that to have at least members, people that contribute a lot of money to that. There's $150,000 of the contributions, not more than that. down there, to be able to access the dedication of it, if you will. So we have to work with that, Tom. We've got, I would guess there'll be, what, 100 people?
Well, the public arts administrator retires, you know,
Right.
so I have to talk with her boss about that to see what's actually being
And Dick
planned.
Oster, who's,
I'm working with the contractor who's developing the new cases
Yes.
right now, and they should be out this month
great.
to install them. But I don't have any specifics
They
related to
will,
any-
but they do want to do a public thing, and I think it's appropriate. We just have to figure it out, some way. Any other comments on that? Is something else going on? No? Yes. But that will happen, and I think it's very good for it. It's good for us too. Any other commissioner requests? If not, the city council actions, I think you all have the yellow sheet that Bill has perused it very carefully for us, and he's absolutely correct. They're ahead of us. Correspondence.
You have a letter from City of Patel.
Yes. Congratulations.
Boy, they love it.
You got great control of it. That's great. I love it. Staff requests reports.
We just have a quick report that Richard wants to give you on air service development. He's been on the road.
Okay, he's been on the road or the air service development side?
No, it's just air service development. We did meet with Delta Airlines back in Atlanta 2 weeks ago and discussed 3 different options on some enhancements to air service at 3 different hubs for Delta. And at this point in time, I will be anticipating a positive response within probably the next 30 days on those meetings. So I just wanted the commission just to be aware that it's ongoing. We're still working on everything else. I got back last night from the National Air Service Conference in Columbus, Ohio, but I haven't had a chance to put together a little summary report of some of the items that were discussed that may be of interest to the council or the commission. I'll bring that to the next meeting.
Okay, I know that Delta is very pleased with their numbers.
Delta is very pleased with the numbers they're pulling out here.
How about Continental?
Continental is doing very
Yes.
well. They're also very happy with the numbers that they're getting.
Of course, the big test will come this summer, and that's where we have to really help everybody out. Okay, any other comments? If not, the meeting stands adjourned. See you next month.